We all have an inner critic. Sometimes it's helpful, guiding us to make better choices. But often, it's harsh and unforgiving. This negative self-talk can lead to feelings of inadequacy, shame, and persistent anxiety. Anxiety often stems from negative automatic thoughts. Imagine this. You make a small mistake at work. Immediately, your inner critic chimes in. You're so incompetent, you're going to get fired. These negative thoughts trigger a wave of anxiety. Self-judgment often begins in childhood. If a child is consistently criticized or held to unrealistic standards, they may internalize these messages, believing they are not good enough. These negative beliefs can become deeply ingrained, forming the foundation of self-judgment. Our culture and society also contribute to self-judgment. Social media exposes us to curated versions of other people's lives, leading to feelings of inadequacy and envy. Trauma, such as abuse, can have a profound impact on self-perception. These negative beliefs can become deeply ingrained, forming core beliefs about oneself and the world. Self-judgment and anxiety often go hand in hand. This connection is particularly evident in anxiety disorders like generalized anxiety disorder and social anxiety disorder. Self-judgment plays a significant role, as individuals often hold themselves to unrealistically high standards. Negative automatic thoughts are the swift, often unconscious judgments that pop into our minds. These thoughts are often negative, self-critical, and based on underlying assumptions and beliefs. They keep us trapped in a cycle of anxiety and self-doubt. Breaking free from the cycle of self-judgment and anxiety requires a multifaceted approach. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, helps individuals identify and challenge their negative automatic thoughts. Cultivating self-compassion and practicing mindfulness are also essential. The psychodynamic perspective explores how early childhood experiences shape our self-perception. If we were repeatedly told that we were not good enough, these beliefs can become deeply ingrained. Sigmund Freud proposed that our personality is composed of three parts: the ID, the ego, and the superego. If our caregivers were overly critical, our superego may become overly harsh and punitive. Self-judgment can serve as a defense mechanism, a way to protect ourselves from emotional pain. By criticizing ourselves, we hope to deflect potential criticism from others. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, offers a practical framework for addressing self-judgment. CBT helps us recognize and challenge the critical thoughts that fuel our self-doubt and anxiety. By learning to identify thought distortions, we can develop more balanced perspectives. Cognitive distortions are like warped lenses that color our perception of ourselves and the world. These thinking errors often operate outside of our conscious awareness, distorting our thoughts. By learning to recognize these distortions, we can begin to challenge their validity and develop more balanced self-perceptions. Section 3. Breaking free CBT techniques to challenge self-criticism. CBT offers practical techniques to reframe negative thoughts, replacing self-criticism with self-compassion. Techniques like thought records and cognitive restructuring help challenge negative thoughts. Behavioral experiments and exposure therapy provide real-world evidence to counter negative beliefs. These methods empower individuals to develop healthier, more adaptive ways of thinking and behaving. Section 1. Embracing self-compassion, a path to healing. While cognitive behavioral therapy provides a structured approach to challenging negative thoughts, self-compassion offers a gentler, more supportive path to healing. Developed by psychologist Kristin Neff, self-compassion theory encourages us to treat ourselves with the same kindness, understanding, and acceptance that we would offer to a close friend or loved one who is struggling. Imagine for a moment that your best friend comes to you feeling down on themselves. They've made a mistake at work and are consumed by self-doubt. Would you berate them for their error, telling them they're not good enough? Or would you offer words of comfort, reminding them that everyone makes mistakes and that this one setback doesn't define them? Self-compassion asks us to extend that same level of kindness and understanding to ourselves. It's about recognizing that we are all imperfect beings, capable of making mistakes and experiencing setbacks. It's about offering ourselves warmth and support, especially during times of difficulty, rather than adding to our own suffering with harsh self-criticism. Self-compassion is not about letting ourselves off the hook or ignoring our flaws. It's not about becoming complacent or self-indulgent. Rather, it's about approaching our imperfections with a spirit of gentleness and understanding, recognizing that we are all works in progress, always learning and growing. Section 2. The 3 pillars of self-compassion. Self-compassion is comprised of 3 core components that work together to create a more supportive and accepting relationship with ourselves: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. First, self-kindness. This involves treating ourselves with warmth and understanding, especially when we're struggling or have made a mistake. It's about replacing self-criticism with self-support, offering ourselves words of encouragement rather than judgment. Instead of berating ourselves for our flaws, self-kindness encourages us to be gentle and forgiving, recognizing that we are all doing the best we can with the resources we have. Next, common humanity. This involves recognizing that we are not alone in our struggles. Everyone experiences pain, suffering, and imperfection. It's part of the human experience. When we connect with our common humanity, we move away from feelings of isolation and self-pity. We realize that making mistakes or experiencing setbacks doesn't make us flawed or unworthy, it makes us human. And finally, mindfulness. This involves cultivating a balanced awareness of our thoughts and feelings, observing them without judgment or attachment. Mindfulness allows us to acknowledge difficult emotions, such as self-criticism or shame, without getting swept away by them. It's about approaching our inner experiences with a sense of curiosity and openness, recognizing that our thoughts and feelings are not facts, but rather transient mental events. By embracing these 3 pillars of self-compassion, we can begin to dismantle the patterns of self-judgment that contribute to anxiety and self-doubt. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, offers a structured and practical approach to tackling self-judgment head-on. It equips you with tools to identify, challenge, and ultimately change the negative thought patterns that fuel self-criticism. Thought restructuring exercise, also known as cognitive reframing, is a key strategy. Imagine your thoughts as a script. If you're stuck in a loop of self-judgment, it's time to revise that script. Identify the negative self-critical thought that's causing you distress. For instance, I messed up that presentation. I'm always messing things up. Next, challenge the validity of that thought. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have to support this thought? What evidence contradicts it? Challenge the generalization. Remind yourself of past successes. Now, reframe the negative thought into a more balanced and realistic one. For example, I made a mistake in the presentation, but that doesn't mean I always mess things up. Everyone makes mistakes. I can learn from this experience and improve next time. Another effective technique is the self-distancing technique, talking to yourself like a friend. Often we're much kinder to our friends than we are to ourselves. This technique encourages you to tap into that compassionate friend voice. Imagine a dear friend is struggling with the same self-judgment you're experiencing. What would you say to them? Now apply that same compassionate language to yourself. Instead of saying, "I'm so stupid for making that mistake," try shifting to the third person and saying, "You're not stupid. It was an honest mistake. Everyone makes them." This shift in perspective from I to you can create a sense of emotional distance, allowing you to approach the situation with more objectivity and kindness. Section 2. Self-compassion exercises. Cultivating inner kindness. Self-compassion provides the emotional support needed to heal from self-judgment. Treat yourself with the same care you would offer a loved one. Write a letter to yourself as if to a close friend. Address them by name to enhance connection. Acknowledge their pain and offer comfort. Remind them of their strengths and positive qualities. Reframe their experience with self-kindness. End with words of encouragement and support. The compassionate self-visualization exercise. Close your eyes and take deep breaths. Visualize yourself surrounded by warm light. Picture your most compassionate self. Hear them say, "You are doing the best you can. You are worthy of love and kindness." Let their words soothe your anxiety. Revisit this visualization whenever self-criticism arises. Section 1. The Transformative Power of Self-Acceptance. Throughout this journey, we've delved deep into the complexities of self-judgment. We've explored its roots in early experiences, its connection to anxiety, and the psychological perspectives that shed light on its pervasive nature. We've learned that self-judgment, while often deeply ingrained, is not an immutable sentence. It's a learned pattern, and like any learned pattern, it can be unlearned. The path to overcoming self-judgment is paved with self-compassion. It's about replacing the harsh inner critic with a voice of kindness and understanding. It's about recognizing our shared humanity, embracing our imperfections, and treating ourselves with the same care and concern we would offer a loved one. This journey is not about achieving some unattainable standard of perfection. It's about recognizing that we are enough, just as we are. It's about silencing the inner critic and embracing the fullness of who we are, flaws and all. Section 2, Embracing Imperfection, a Journey of Growth and Resilience. The pursuit of self-acceptance is not a destination, but an ongoing journey, a commitment to treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, even when we stumble or fall short of our own expectations. It's about recognizing that setbacks and failures are not signs of weakness, but opportunities for growth and learning. When we embrace our imperfections, we open ourselves up to a more authentic and compassionate way of being. We release the need for external validation and cultivate a deep sense of self-worth that emanates from within. This journey of self-acceptance is not always easy. There will be days when the inner critic rears its head, when self-doubt creeps in, and the temptation to retreat into old patterns of self-judgment feels overwhelming. But it's in those moments that we must dig deep, summon our reserves of self-compassion, and remind ourselves that we are worthy of love and acceptance, just as we are. Section 3. Your journey to self-compassion starts now. As we conclude this exploration of self-judgment and its impact on anxiety, I invite you to embrace the tools and practices that resonate with you. Experiment with different techniques. Find what works best for you. Remember that self-compassion is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's a personalized journey of self-discovery and healing. Start by setting aside a few minutes each day to practice self-compassion. Write yourself a letter of kindness and support. Engage in a compassionate self-visualization. Challenge negative thoughts with CBT techniques. Cultivate mindfulness in your daily life. Remember that change takes time and effort. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and above all, never give up on your journey to self-acceptance.